as a journalism student, we used to like to get together in the evenings when we were putting together the newspaper and think about the future. And today we have that future in our hands, right? We dreamed of a day when we would have an electronic newspaper on a tablet or something that looked like a newspaper or like a magazine. And it's amazing that in 18 years ago, that we could dream about a future, and the future was already hinted at by what was happening back then, right? I ran the Associated Press wire machine, and I wanted that at home. And today we have Twitter, which does very much the same thing that the Associated Press wire machine did for me back in 2001. Today I'm seeing a new range of companies and trends. Werner talked about a few of them that are informing what the year 2030 might be like. And I just like to play with those in my head with you a little bit. So let's say I'm waking up in 2030, in April of 2030. I'm getting up, and I wake up. First of all, my alarm clock is very different than today. Today I set a very discrete time. I call it waking up at 6 in the morning because I have to speak at a conference or go somewhere. My clock is going to set itself in the future. And we're already seeing hints of this. The Neo clock is trying to wake you up when your sleep cycle is best to wake you up, right? I could have a system that hooks up to my Google Calendar and knows when I need to be up. And it could hook up to a service like Waze and even know that there's a big traffic accident between me and work or me and my first appointment, and it would wake me up a little earlier because it knows that the travel time is going to be increased over my standard everyday travel time. And you keep going, right? An iPad 10 of 2030, 18 years from now, it's probably going to be thinner and faster and have a sharper screen and all that. But it's probably that little laser display that can look for a blank surface and spray stuff on that blank surface, right? And it could be telling me what's coming at me. It can wake me up with music or with video of what's going on. And we're already getting close to that. I already have, around my bedroom, I have 4 big screens, right? I'm getting close. Today, when we step on a scale, that scale just tells me a number, right? Already we're starting to get scales that are reporting that number to cloud-based services. The withing scale, for instance, will even tweet your weight if you really want your friends to know how fat you are. But these systems, these sensors, these devices, my shoes have sensors in them, right? That can talk to my iPhone and keep track of whether I'm walking or running. These sensors are going to inform us about the world. Hey, and this new screen is going to tell us a little motivational message. Hey, it's time to go running a little bit, right? I might get out of my covers and it might be cold that morning. Now, the computer probably won't let that happen twice because it'll have a sensor in my room, maybe hooked up to my iPad, sort of that looks like the Microsoft Kinect sensor, right? The Kinect sensor can build a 3D map of this world. There's a Y Combinator company that does that already. It takes the 3D sensor, you WAN it across this, and it builds a 3D sensor, the 3D image of this room. But that sensor can be watching me as I sleep and can know that I'm feeling cold based on my skin response to when I pull the covers off. And it can talk to my thermostat, my Nest thermostat, right? And it can tell it to turn up the heat because I'm cold. On the surface, that this little laser, and I've seen some lasers that are cool. The displays are already this small. In 18 years, they're going to be much smaller, right? Will be something like Flipboard that I have on iPad, and I can put there the news. I'm already streaming on my large screens. I have Twitter going. I have DataSift, which is doing algorithmic searches for things. If some news happens, if Werner announces a new cloud service, my system can be watching for keywords and can bring me the news. Hey, Amazon just announced something, you better go and read about it. And it can splash that story on many different display surfaces around me. And I'm already using apps like Streamboard or DataSift to do that. If I go running, I have Runkeeper today. Runkeeper is using Facebook Open Graph to shove data into the Facebook data center, to the Facebook data system. And what people don't understand about Facebook that I'm really getting in tune with is Facebook's a new media company. It's building media that comes to you. It's based on, there's some things happening now that are potentially possible with things like these Google Glasses and heads-up displays in our cars and a new kind of display that'll splash on our wall. These new data systems like Facebook will bring things to us based on who we are. Already right now in my cell phone is an app called Place Me. And this is a freaky app. I wrote the whole thing about this. Place Me, let me pull it up here. It's studying my sensors in my iPhone. And it's studying my accelerometer, so if I drop this, it knows it got dropped. It's studying the compass, so it knows which way it's pointed. It's studying the temperature sensor in here, so it knows whether it's inside or outside, because he already knows a little bit about temperature. And he's studying the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth fingerprint. The guy who developed the Sam used to work on the Google Mapping team, and he's doing some really bizarre stuff that you should be thinking about. So this starts, whenever I've shown this out to people and explain what he's studying, people go, I'm freaked out. But let's take it into the future, into 18 years from now, 2030. He's going to be studying me for the next 18 years that I carry around a device like this, either an Android device or this one or whatever comes out from the industry. And he's going to know what kind of food I like. Because as soon as I stand still for 4 minutes, his device reports that. He already knows that I'm standing here in this space, right? And he's already added that to the list. So in 18 years from now, he's going to know my favorite gas station. He's going to know whether I go to church or not. He's going to know what schools my kids go to, because he's going to know when my kids are using their iPhones and are in the car with me, and when they get dropped off, he's going to know whether I like sushi or not. And so if you ask me to go to lunch with you, your phone will say sushi is very appropriate for Scoble, but maybe not for him. He doesn't like sushi, right? He's going to know whether you're driving somewhere. He already knows this, by the way. His system already knows whether this phone is traveling through space, whether I'm riding my mountain bike, because that has a certain kind of signature on it. Remember, he's studying the accelerometer in this. And he knows this phone is being shaken like this. Or if I'm walking with it. Or if I'm walking with it in my belt. That has a certain kind of signature to it, and it's reporting that data up to the servers. Now what can he do with that? Well, he can know that you're about to run out of gas before your gas tank even warns you. And he can then say, hey, you like going to the Shell, but there's a Chevron across the street that you didn't know about that's 5 cents less. And if you drive another 20 miles, there's one that's even a couple cents less than that. He's going to be able to predict and get ahead of you. And that's what the systems that I'm watching are starting to do. Waze, for instance, is an Israeli traffic system that I use. And usually when I'm on it, I see hundreds of people in San Francisco on it. And we can report where the cops are. We can report, hey, there's a ladder in the road. We can take a picture of a wreck if all the lanes are closed, so that other people can see, hey, we better not go near the freeway today because it's going to be closed down for 4 hours. And these systems now are going to be able to see this database and start changing our lives going forward. Changing where we go. Changing what we see, what we do. So Place Me, Highlight, for instance, is another app I'm using already that was the hot app at South by Southwest. And it tells me when my friends come within 100 yards of me. And other people, by the way. Now that doesn't sound like that big a deal, but I met the head of Al Jazeera online with Highlight at South by Southwest, and I had breakfast with him. Because I saw him come into my radar screen. It told me who he was. It told me how many Facebook friends or who my Facebook friends were in common with him and what my likes were in common with him. So I had something to talk to him about and say, hey, I know you know Werner. You know, I'd love to meet you for breakfast and talk about Werner. This is all going to come together with the Google glasses. These glasses, it's not really even a glass, it's a monitor. And this monitor, you're going to walk through space and it's going to inform you about things in your space. It's going to tell you, hey, your best friend is in Amsterdam. Wouldn't you like to go to a coffee shop with your best friend? Yes, I would. It's going to tell you all sorts of data based on the camera that's going to be in these glasses. There's another Israeli company called Face.com, which does face detection, and it's pretty damn accurate. It's freaky accurate. I point my iPhone at you, and it tells me who you are. I've had this experience, you know, at the World Economic Forum. I met somebody there at one of the parties. His name badge said Peter Pyatt, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I started talking to him. I knew he was smart because, yeah, you know, Bill Gates doesn't hire stupid people. And I knew he was interesting, but I couldn't figure out why he was interesting. I knew by talking to him for 3 or 4 minutes that he had an IQ that was way above mine, right? He used big words and he was seeing a world I was not seeing, right? But I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out who was this guy. So of course, when I went away from him, I Googled him. First hit, Wikipedia. He discovered the Ebola virus. In the future, my glasses are going to say, Peter Pyatt, Wikipedia. I'm going to know while I'm talking with him, oh, my glasses are showing me that you discovered the Ebola virus. Tell me about that. We're going to have a completely different conversation than we had 2 years ago. You take these technologies, and they're all coming at you pretty quickly now. But I have another app that I can aim at a house anywhere in the United States, and it tells me how much that house sold for, what the approximate value is. I mean, you can do that today by typing that into Zillow, right, and getting an estimate. But this is taking a picture of the house. It tells me the address, the last known sale, how much it sold for, and what the estimated cost is. And if it's for sale, and I've done this a few times now, it actually gives me the entire MLS rating, the real estate rating, so that I can see a lot more detail. And a lot of times I can see a lot of pictures and stuff like that. All just by aiming my phone at something. So Face.com, I can aim at you and see who you are. I'll see your Facebook page in the future. HomeSnap, I can aim at your home. We're going to have more and more of these because these glasses, as we walk through our world, as we look at products like a can of Campbell's soup, it's going to imprint on that, right? We already have this stuff. The future is already here. It's not put together yet. It's like I was back in journalism school and we were starting to see those first digital images. We were playing with Photoshop, right? And the rich people in our community were showing us a future. Steve Weissack took me into his office and showed me a $45,000 dye sublimation color printer. Today, a $70 printer is a better thing. Imagine in 2030, we already know that there's self-driving cars. Google's not the only one who's built one. But in 2030, we're going to be able to afford one because the price slope of that will go from $300,000 that costs today down to maybe $10,000. And if it's $10,000, everybody in this room can afford to buy it on credit, right? What's that self-driving car going to do for me? It's going to hook up to these databases. It's going to know where to take me. I'm not even going to have to tell it because it knows it's 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. And and it knows that it's going to need to take you to work. And of course I can override it and say, hey, don't take me to the normal place today, I want to go somewhere else. But it's going to have the common choices that I've done, that I've visited on my screen, on that heads-up display for me. And it's probably going to be right, because we're creatures of habit. We go to the same places over and over again. If I know the last 45 places you've eaten, I probably can guess where you're going to eat tonight. So that's my glimpse into the future. I've given you, I think, 15 companies instead of 7. But it's an interesting future that's starting to expose itself right in front of us. And hope you have a great NextWeb conference.